Does Sonic Unleashed need a remaster? This is a question that I see a lot, and it's something that I have talked about a few times in previous videos. I talked about it quite exclusively in the video I made after the Summer Games Fest Sonic X Shadow Generation stuff happened because of how impressive the reveals of the game were, and how this could shape the future of Sonic game remasters. I do want to clarify that if Sonic Team were to go and remaster Unleashed, I would totally be for it, but at the same time there would be a side of me that would probably be against it. So in today's video, I would like to talk about that. It is absolutely no secret that Unleashed really wasn't all too well received when it released back in 2008. Sonic 06 had seemingly destroyed the reputation of the franchise, and Unleashed coming off the back of a hot mess didn't do the game any favours. Also, people really weren't a fan of the whole Werehog gimmick, so to say that fans weren't too best pleased with Sonic Team's attempts to redeem themselves in the eyes of the public would probably be an understatement. Obviously, 17 years later, people are a lot more appreciative of Sonic Unleashed now, and it does have its large number of fans, me included. And when I say there is a lot of demand for a remaster, I say a lot. But to be honest, I am partly of the belief that there is no need for a remaster. While yes, the in-game rendered cutscenes don't really hold up that well compared to the cutscenes of Sonic Frontiers or Shadow Generations, and now with Sonic Cross Worlds, they are a testament to how far technology has advanced, and also to how far Sonic Team have come with producing visuals to go along with the storytelling within the games. I think it's unbelievable to see how far we've come with technology since 2008, and that was only 17 years ago. We've seen such an amazing advancement in technology, alongside many bad advancements. I mean, for fuck's sake, look at AI! But we are at a point where we can have cutscenes that are beautiful. They have cinematic lighting, and that is something that should be absolutely acknowledged more. I see a lot of people saying that they don't care for the storylines, they only care for the gameplay, but to me, that is a really bad mindset to have. Storytelling is an important part of what makes a Sonic game, and if you don't care about the story, you may as well just go and play another 3D platform, because they are pretty much all the same nowadays. However, that's not to say that gameplay isn't important, because it absolutely is. We've seen how bad Sonic games are with terrible gameplay, but I do kind of understand where people do come from when they say this, because some Sonic game storylines are pretty dog water, but that is also why Sonic Team need to start focusing on storylines a lot more. I'd say they've nailed gameplay with Shadow Generations. The storyline for the Shadow portion of the game is, I'd say it's really good, and I do think that if they continue going, they can learn a lot. They know what the fans like, and they can work with that for future mainline games. I think Sonic Unleashed has a lot of charm. It has its flaws, and even I won't ignore them. The button mashy gameplay is something that I'm not particularly a fan of, but that's just what makes Sonic Unleashed Sonic Unleashed. Remove that, and personally for me, it just becomes an average Sonic game. That's not to say I wouldn't like to see the Werehog with the Frontiers combat system, with a skill tree that you can tweak to your preference, because I would absolutely kill to see that, but at the same time, changing anything about Unleashed would just make it like any other Sonic game. Sonic Unleashed did something new with its gameplay, especially for Sonic, and changing it to have a more Frontiers style combat system would absolutely remove the uniqueness that Unleashed has, as much as it would be nice to see the Werehog's attack system get an overhaul. Because let's not lie here, it does kinda need improving. I also just think that it's not going to happen. Hear me out. Time and time again, people have asked for Sonic Unleashed to be remastered, and people like Takashi Iizuka have brushed over it. It happened during that little Q&A that happened during Summer Games Fest, so I just don't think it's likely to happen. Also, keep in mind that there is the rumours that Sonic Team lost the source code for Unleashed, or they lost the licensing for the Havoc engine. Both seem really likely to me, because it's been 17 years since Unleashed came out, and they probably don't know where the source code is. This is also most likely the reason why there is no official port of Sonic Unleashed for PC. Luckily, that's where Unleashed Recompiled comes into play. But also, them losing the license to use Havoc engine does also seem really likely too. Because, do keep in mind, Unleashed's reputation probably really put a nail in the coffin for Sonic Team working with any major video game engine. I'm not saying that's definitely what happened, I am purely just speculating here, but it really wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. After the backlash that 06 received from critics, fans, and all other parties, people not wanting to be associated with Sonic projects just seems like something that would have happened back then, because keep in mind, Sonic Team would probably have to pay to work with video game engines, and if the people they're working with have no faith in continuing to work with them, they are definitely going to pull out because of the lack of profit they would make from the failure of the game. Again, I am purely speculating here because there isn't much in the way of information regarding whether or not Sonic Team still have the Havoc engine, considering that most of their newer projects now run off Hedgehog Engine 2. It wouldn't exactly make much sense to keep the less powerful engine around when they have their own engine that is very good. Again, pure speculation, I could just be talking out my ass here, but isn't that what most Sonic fans do? Another thing about Unleashed that doesn't need a remaster is the in-house Mars Animation Planet rendered cutscenes, especially the opening cutscene. As you probably know by now, I am a huge sucker for this cutscene. It is the first fucking thing you see when you load up a new file, and it brilliantly sets up the story of the game, with absolutely beautiful visuals and a fantastic soundtrack. It also shows that in between games, Sonic doesn't just stop having adventures. He's constantly moving and going places, whether it's on screen or not, which is why it's one of my favourite cutscenes in the entire series. The same can be said for the 06 Sonic Story opening cutscene. While, yes, it's not as fast-paced and exciting as Unleashed's opening cutscene, it still does set up the rest of Sonic's story well and shows that he is constantly having new adventures on screen and off screen, even if Sonic's story is the weakest part about 06 alongside the rest of the story. Sonic Team have proved that they can make a successful remaster. Sonic X Shadow Generations is a great example of this. However, while yes, it's a good remaster, they did fumble with some of the rewrites and changing dialogue in base Generations. Taking the Generations rewrites into account, I just can't imagine Roger trying to voice the Werehog. As much as I have come to appreciate Roger as the main cast now, Jason Griffith's voice is just right for the Werehog and Sonic in general. This isn't me trying to be one of the many Jason fanboys here, because as much as I am one, there are a lot of factors as to why Jason's Sonic works. One of them being that he manages to portray Sonic as a chill and laid back guy, but he also manages to portray the serious side of Sonic very well when the plot calls for it, giving him attitude and bravery, whereas Roger portrays Sonic as an overly energetic guy who is always cracking jokes, which is why I personally prefer Jason. The reason why Ben Schwartz works as Sonic, though, is because while yes, Sonic in the movies does crack a lot of jokes like the current iteration of Game Sonic, Ben captures the energetic teenager that Movie Sonic is. Movie Sonic is a kid trying to get used to being a hero, and that's why personally Ben works as Sonic. Although I am not sure if Ben would work as Game Sonic. But back to talking about the Werehog, Roger's performance as Sonic in Frontiers for me is very good. The overly energeticness is dialed back. However, for me, Roger doesn't really have a lot of vocal range. Some of his characters just sound the same to me, which is why if he was trying to do the Werehog, he would just end up sounding like any of the other characters he has voiced. He'd definitely just end up sounding like his performance as Batman. That's not to say that's a bad thing. His performance as Batman is quite good. But I think the best thing about a voice actor is being able to distinguish your characters and give them unique voices without the need for constant replacements. With Jason doing the Werehog voice, you know that it's Sonic, but with the animalistic, hoarse sound to his voice, because he has literally become a lot more animalistic with the transformation from his regular self to his Werehog form. But also, when it comes to remasters, you can't not talk about Sonic Colors Ultimate. That remaster gave us some good remixes of the tracks from the original game, but also gave us some really fucking questionable ones. One could say that yes, the bad remixes aren't the worst part about Colors Ultimate, but with Unleashed having probably one of the greatest soundtracks in the series, I really don't want to imagine them fumbling with Unleashed music, like they did with some of the music from Colors. Sonic Unleashed has a really incredible soundtrack, from Endless Possibilities to Rooftop Run Day, and to be honest, Unleashed's music doesn't really need remixing. I mean, I personally believe that Unleashed's music is perfect as it is. The hub world music brings so much atmosphere to the game and gives each hub world so much personality, and tampering with that would probably remove the charm that the music has. Overall, I just don't think Sonic Unleashed needs a remaster when it's already quite good as it is. While yes, it does have flaws, the Werehog combat being probably one of the main ones, the combat being one of its flaws is what makes Sonic Unleashed Sonic Unleashed. I think personally, Sonic Team need to focus on giving remasters to games that really require it, like the Sonic Adventure games. While yes, those games are timeless classics, it couldn't hurt to see what those games are like with the aesthetic that Sonic Team goes for now with their games. While it would be great to have a remaster of Unleashed, because it means that Unleashed would finally come to PS5, as my buddy Needlemouse said, we'd also end up having a true Steam port. However, we already have Unleashed on PC now thanks to Unleashed Recompiled. I mean, it's been at least 2 to 3 weeks now since Unleashed Recompiled came out and people are loving it. Why does Sonic Team need to remaster the game when the fans are already there to give the game the love it deserves? The fact that there are fans that are devoted to giving their time to do something that the fans have wanted for years is incredible, and it does go to show that even though the franchise isn't always well regarded, there are still fans who are passionate about it and will go through extreme lengths to make other fans happy. Personally, I am still yet to play Unleashed Recompiled, but I can already tell from friends who have played it that I am going to have a great time with it. In no way, shape or form am I saying that Unleashed shouldn't get a remaster, because, well, I would absolutely be lying to myself if I were to say that I don't want to see Unleashed with the visual quality of the recent games. It'd be really fucking cool to see Unleashed in 4K with the brilliant lighting that a Hedgehog Engine 2 has brought to the recent games like Sonic X Generations and even Frontiers. But I do think the visuals of Unleashed do have a lot of charm and should be left the way they are so new fans who are just getting into the series can see the progression of storytelling in the games, which is also why I'm just not a big fan of rewrites as a whole. I think rewrites are a bad idea, especially in some cases because they can really fumble a character's progression. For example, this is totally hypothetical, but say they were to rewrite SA2 and have Shadow act how he does in Sonic 06. It wouldn't make sense because, well, SA2 is Shadow's introductory game, and having him act how he does later down the line would be weird because we wouldn't get the progression of how he becomes an agent for Gun, or why he's so pally with Sonic. So I just think rewrites are a bad idea. They can be done right, of course, I'm not saying they can't be, but with knowing how they pretty much fumbled with rewriting some of the dialogue for the sections of Generations, I just can't imagine how they'd fumble if they were to go and change stuff from Unleashed. And like I said earlier, I could totally get behind a skill tree system for the Werehog, just like how Frontiers has one, where you can gain skill points and tweak the fighting style of the Werehog to your personal preference. I reckon a large part of the reason why Sonic Team don't want to touch Unleashed again is most likely because they have lost the source code, as I mentioned earlier, and if that is true, they probably would have to rebuild the entire game from scratch, and that would definitely be a truly time-consuming process. Sonic Team could absolutely do that, but why bother when Unleashed is pretty good as it is, and they could just go and make an entirely new game with a new story. What do you think? Does Sonic Unleashed really need a remaster? Or do you think it should just be left for a new generation of Sonic fans to discover and see how the franchise has evolved over the years? Let me know in the comments below. But with that being said, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it and you want to see more videos like Sonic trailer breakdowns, game reviews, or occasional Sonic news, then do feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Also, be sure to check out my Ko-fi page. You can commission me to make renders of Sonic characters like Sonic, Silver, Shadow, and more. Since I don't make any money from making YouTube videos, donating or commissioning me is most likely one of the best ways to support what I'm doing, and it is always greatly appreciated when someone does so. Also, be sure to join our community Discord server. We have an extremely accepting small community full of people who are amazing and will accept whatever opinion you have. There is a link in the description and in the pinned comment if you are interested in becoming a part of the discussion regarding the blue speed mouse. With all that being said though, keep on speeding and have an absolutely fantastic day.